Today's session, we are going to look at, still looking at Google Analytics, and we'll finish off looking at the report section, and we're going to look at one of the metrics which I find the most useful, and I'm hoping you will too for your business, which is the bounce rate. So just to recap for anyone who wasn't here last time, and again, as I mentioned, you can go to the YouTube channel to catch up on what we did. It's quite in depth, so it would be great if you could take a look at what we did last time, just to keep you up to speed. So we looked at what Google Analytics is and why we need to use it. So it is a free tool, a bit of code that sits on every page of your website, and it's obviously provided by Google. And what it does, it helps us make smart business decisions, and also helps with the health of our website, making sure that we've got the best possible performing website. But if you're doing any type of marketing, you are if you haven't got Google Analytics, you're flying blind. So that's why we really need to use it. And during our last session, we looked at the interface and we went through some of the key terms and metrics. And then we also delved into the reports section. So the reports that we reviewed, we looked at the audience report. So this is who is visiting the website. So you can see number of visitors, really useful demographic information as well. So you can look at age, you can look at geography, and there's also other insights as well. So looking at how Google groups these people according to their interests. So that's really useful in the audience report. And then we have the acquisition report. If you're doing any form of marketing, this is where you go to. It basically groups according to your marketing activities. So that's really useful in seeing how your marketing activities are performing, looking at analyzing the data, and then making adjustments to your marketing campaigns according to that data. So our next report that we're going to look at is the behavior report. And these three reports are the ones that I would use most. And I think as you know, small or medium business owners, these are the most popular. So the behavior report, it tells you how people, the journey, it shows you the journey they take on your website, so how they are behaving. It looks at the behavior flow through the website, and it's also a great place to do a content audit to see what pages are working, what aren't, how engaged people are, because we all want our website to be engaging, and we put a lot of effort into creating content. And in this section, we can tell what content is working and what is just being missed by your audience. With all these reports, there's the bounce rate metric I find extremely useful, and I'll delve into this later for each report. But just to refresh your memory about what a bounce rate is. So a bounce rate is when someone arrives at your website and doesn't interact. So they come on to a single page and then just leave. So that is a bounce rate. So just bear that in mind as we progress through today's class. So we've got the behavior flow here. So I'll so this is the view that you get when you log into to Google Analytics, and all the reports are down this side. So we've got the audience, the acquisition, and the behavior, and then you can drill down into their various segments. A popular one that I like to use is the behavior flow. So this is taken from a site that I'm working with at the moment. It's an accommodation website. These are divided into, or this view that we're looking at is landing pages. So what are landing pages? They're the point of entry to your website. So it may not necessarily be your homepage. It could, if you've got a marketing campaign going, you might have created a landing page for, say, your Facebook campaign. Or indeed, if you're doing search engine optimization, then if it's all going according to plan, you'll have multiple landing pages. So taking a look at this landing page, and the whole purpose is to look at the flow. So people are starting out here. So this / is represents the home page. So we have a large chunk of, and this is for January. We're looking at the January data. So we've got a large portion of our visitors coming in to the homepage, and this is a very interactive. If you have a play around with it in your own Google Analytics, you can hover on it and you can select various data. But what we're looking at today, which is a really useful metric, is this red waterfall, which is the drop-off rate. And so when I first looked at this, I thought, oh my goodness, for a homepage to have such a high drop-off rate. So they're coming on here and they're leaving and not flowing through the website. So that sort of sends alarm bells ringing. Sorry, that's okay. It sends alarm bells ringing. And so what do you do? So if you see any pages, especially at the beginning of a flow through your website, this journey, if you see a big, I like to call it the waterfall, then that tells you to go and take a look at the home page. So in this instance, I went and had a look at the home page. It's a new client, and so I could see immediately one of the errors was content. It was just really not representing what the brand is about. There were also some technical issues as well on this particular page. So that gave me really useful information so that we can work to correct that. Another useful way of using this behavior flow in your own business, you might have created let's say you created an autumn related campaign, whether you're, whatever your business. So you've spent time creating on a particular page, creating a campaign to drive conversions, whether that's inquiries or bookings or so on. And then if you take a look in this flow, you'll have a preconception of how it might flow. And then you can see that the page that you've created is not appearing in here. So if something like that happens, then what you need to do is actually make it more prominent on your website. So you could position it on the homepage of your website. You might like to put it in your main, as a sub-menu in the main menu, but just to look at ways in which that promotion could be more prominent. So that's another way that you can use the behavior flow for monitoring your marketing. Okay, so drilling down into the behavior report, this is a really useful segment called site content. So it's literally all the content in your website. We've got all pages, and then we also have landing pages here. The interface is very similar. So I'll just go through all the pages today, and we'll take a look at interpreting the data, but also just to refresh your memory about some of these terms. And I know some of you, these terms will be new to you. So I'll just go through these. So we've got page. So That's pretty self-explanatory. That's every page on your website is here. And if you actually click on the row here, it defaults to 10, but you can look at as many rows as you like if you click on that. And that gives you a good overview of your website. Page views, that's just how many times in this particular period, which is January, how many pages of your website were viewed. Unique page views. If someone has viewed your website in multiple sessions, then that won't show up in these in that data. Now, average time on the page, this is a really useful metric. Again, we want people to be engaged on our websites, and looking at the time people spend on your pages is a great way to see whether people are engaged or not. If they're on there for a short period of time, like 32 seconds, that would cause me to you want to go and investigate that. Now, if you see here, we've got two similar pages. They're both for different types of accommodation, and on this page, they're there for 2 minutes and 38 seconds versus the 32 seconds here. So I would be going to this page and just having a look to see, one, there could be a technical issue. Two, there could be, the content mightn't be displaying properly. Maybe the images aren't up to scratch, or the other, the writing isn't very clear. So really that would show me I need to go and have a look at that. Okay, entrances. So that's the same as we talked about landing pages. So this is where people, are these pages a point of entry? Bounce rate, we discussed that before. So this is when someone is on comes to your website and bounces straight off. The content is not what they're looking for whatever reason, and there are other reasons, and we'll go into those. Then exit rate. Sometimes people confuse bounce rate and exit rate. So this is the page on which the people exited your website. So not necessarily a bounce, but they left the website. Now, you would expect it on pages like a booking page or a contact page, but for me, if I look at, well, that's got a over 55% exit rate on the home page, which again tells me something is wrong. So I would want to go and have a look at that. Page value. If you've got an e-commerce site, this is where you would determine the value of these pages, but we're not looking at those e-commerce. We're not looking at e-commerce in this session. So the metric I'd like us to focus on today, and you can go after this session, you can do some homework and have a look at do a content audit, looking at the bounce rate metric. So why is the bounce rate important? For multiple reasons, but two really important reasons. Google actually, if you're doing any search engine optimization, Google actually incorporates the bounce rate as part of the algorithm. So a high bounce rate will mean that your website is not getting positioned on that first page of Google. So that their algorithm's complicated, but that's one element to it. So and plus you want your user to be having a great experience. So anyway, and Google takes all that into account. And the other reason it's important is it indicates that something is wrong with either your website or your marketing. So it's a really good metric to keep an eye on to help you fix issues with either your website or your marketing campaigns. So there can be multiple causes of a high bounce rate, and what is a high bounce rate? It might be a question you're asking. Now, this really depends on your industry sector. So for example, for tourism, I would like to see a bounce rate under 40. However, it just depends on what you've got going on. So if you've got you might have just started a Google ad campaign. Now, when you start those type of campaigns, you need to refine them, and you might see a high bounce rate caused by that campaign. But generally speaking, if you average it out, looking at data over 3 months or so, try to get it down to 40 would be great. If you've got a business to business website, then you'll see that a industry average is probably above 50. So it really does depend on your industry sector. High bounce rate causes slow page speed. So we can have a slow website, and that can also cause a bounce rate. Now, if you have a slow website, that's something that you would need to go to your web developer to discuss and get that sorted out. But slow page speed could be because it's too heavy. So that could be you've got heavy media on the page. Maybe your images have not been optimized for web. You might have a heavy video on there. Just a tip for videos, instead of hosting them on your own web hosting, have them sitting in your YouTube or Vimeo account and then embed it. It just helps speed things up. Or it could be a technology clash on this particular page as well. So yeah, it's always just have a look and see how it's, and see if there's anything like that when you're doing your content audit. Now, pop-ups. The pop-ups are a pet peeve of mine and also Google's. So those bits of marketing that pop up when you're when you first enter a website, they can cause people to click off. It can be a real turn off. Now, there is an alternative to having a pop-up, which is to have a slide out instead. Usually, especially if you're using WordPress, the pop-up technology has the option to have a slide out instead. So it still captures people's attention, but in a less obnoxious kind of way. And you'll get better results by using the slide out. So yeah, give that one a try. Unnecessary plugins. So this again is WordPress. If you're on Wix or Squarespace, you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. But if you're with a WordPress website, plugins are little bits of technology that we use to enhance functionality. Sometimes we put them in thinking, yes, that's a great idea, and then forget we've got them there, don't use them, and they're sitting there. So they might be old, which is a security risk, or that you mightn't be using them, which is slowing down the website just because it's adding extra code to the website. So again, if you're confident with your WordPress, just get rid of them. You can delete them or speak to your web developer to just do an audit. And it's worthwhile looking at that once a year just to see what you're using and what you're not. Poor usability. So this is to do with your navigation. When people come to the website and they find it hard to access the information that they need, or indeed that you want them to access to make that, whether it's a purchase decision or a subscribe or whatever action you would like them to take. So that could be another reason. And then if they can't use the website, then off they go. Title tags and meta description. So when you do a search in Google, these are the website title and the description that appears on that first page. If you haven't optimized those pages, Google just pulls in information from that particular page that can sometimes be vague, and so someone might click on that web page and it's not exactly what they want, so they'll jump off. And so really important to optimize each page in your website with a clear title and meta description. And of course, if you're doing that for SEO, you've got to follow the SEO best practice for doing that. Blank pages and technical errors. So yes, look, with technology and they're often, with upgrades and adding additional technology to websites, we get conflicts and little glitches. So that could be also an issue. Low quality content. Now, we've all done it, rushing to get, maybe rushing to get a website done and think, oh, put in an image and a few words, and I'll come back to that. And then you just get busy running the business, and forget to enhance that page. So that, just have a look and see, is there enough information, for people? Is it relevant? Is there enough information for people to understand what you're trying to convey on that page? Pages that aren't mobile friendly. Now, I'm sure all of you have responsive websites, and if you don't, please make sure that you do. But even though we employ responsive design, there still can be particular pages where the desktop content doesn't quite work on mobile, and sometimes we actually have to make, as web designers, we have to make adjustments to those mobile pages. So that's really worth checking, and I will show you how to do that too. So when you're doing your content audit using the bounce rate metric, I'll just take you through the steps to do so in each report. So we've got the audience overview section. So this is the bounce rate for the entire website. I think if you see a really high bounce rate here, 70% or something, you would think, oh, okay, that's something I've really got to get a handle on. But here it's a real top level metric here, and we need to drill down a little bit further. So in the audience section, we've got mobile. So here, and this would give you, if you're having issues with your website on mobile, if people can't get to the information. I had this happen with a client during the summer. We had embedded some third-party booking technology onto the mobile page, and actually people couldn't book from it. The technology hadn't been updated, and they couldn't book. So then we had to make the adjustments. So it's really good to take a look at. It's divided into mobile, desktop, and tablet, and you can have a look here at the bounce rate and just see if it's very high on mobile, then you need to take a deeper dive and see what's working. And look, sometimes I just like to actually go through a website on my phone. Obviously that's not practical if you've got a huge website, but for smaller websites, just get in there and do a bit of testing on your phone and indeed your tablet. And then in the acquisition section, this is really useful if you've got any form of marketing going on. So for example, if you've got an SEO program going, so this would be your organic search, and you can keep an eye on your bounce rate there. If you've got a high bounce rate, you can click through and look at individual pages and to see what's working and what's not. Referral, that's useful. Again, with all these, you can click through anything that's indicating a link. You can click through and get more data. So if I was doing, I'll give you an example of a referral, how I would use that in marketing. You might, for example, have partnered with another company, to another website, in a joint campaign. Their website is referring traffic back to a landing page on your website, and then you're hoping that people take action from that landing page, whatever that might be, to explore the website further, to subscribe, to book, to inquire. So if you click through here, then you can see the actual pages that are referring traffic to your website, and you can see, you know, if that campaign is working for you. If it had a high bounce rate, then no, it's not. So that's a great way to take a look. Social media, this just shows you this. In this instance, they're not very active on social, but again, if you've got campaigns going on, not necessarily paid campaigns, because they would appear up here, but in your social media, if one of your goals is to, you know, increase web visits, and then you're seeing a very high bounce rate there, then it tells you that you've got to go back and adjust your campaign. If you're using Google Ads, I won't go into this now because that's quite advanced, but this is your best friend, you know, analyzing what's going on. And indeed, in campaigns, you can actually link all your social media advertising campaigns and even your email campaigns, which is more advanced, but it's really how, if you're working with someone on these, it's really worthwhile getting your the person you're working with, whether it's an agency or a freelancer, to actually connect these campaigns to your Google Analytics, so you can get a much clearer insight into what's going on. Okay, so for your homework, if you could go through your analytics and conduct a website audit, just as we've done there, having a look at the bounce rates in all these different reports, and then seeing if you can identify any issues on these pages. Hopefully you don't have too many, but so give that a try and see how you go. And I'll give you my email address, and if you've got any queries as far as that goes, then please just email me and I'll take a look at your audit results.